Only a fraction of AI builders currently know this, but this one framework, along with this complementary GPT, is slowly but surely becoming a secret sauce that we're using more and more internally in our group. And today I'll be sharing it to you because in this video, not only will you be learning a new agentic framework for system prompts, which you can add to your growing arsenal of AI knowledge and tools, but I'll also be providing you with 3 example AI agents that you can implement today to show how useful, flexible, and easy it is to implement this one framework. And I will also demo this GPT, which you can talk to easily create those system prompts for your AI agents. And if you need further reason to watch, learning about AI agents as well as the tool we'll be using called n8n is one of the best investments of your time today, given the demand for it, which you can see if you just hop over at Google Trends. And remember, we're using low-code tools for this, so even a beginner can do it. If you know how to drag and drop things and operate a mouse and a keyboard, I believe that you can master this skill as well. So if you have the time, invest the next few minutes to learn about AI as well as this agent framework today, and watch till the end because I'm sure that it will pay dividends for you in some shape or form in the future. Let's start learning. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Jay. We run RoboLabs, which is our agency arm helping mostly content businesses take advantage of AI in meaningful ways. And I also run the RoboNuggets community, where we have hundreds of AI practitioner members all located across the globe. And here at RoboNuggets, our mission is simple. It's to make AI easy to learn for anyone who wants to, no matter what your background is, and no matter if you're technical or not. In fact, to make this as easy as possible, I'll be uploading this template along with this step-by-step process on how you can set up these agents on your own just in our community, which you can find the link below. Okay, so before we learn about the agent framework for AI agents, since it's essentially a framework for the system prompts of these agents, we first need to understand what a system prompt is in the first place. And if you're new to AI and have never heard of this term before, basically a system prompt is essentially your AI agent's purpose or role in life. And if you're trying to define someone's purpose in life, you better need to make sure that that prompt is well defined and well structured so that your AI agent knows what to do and how to provide you the output that you need. And if you need a quick intro and demo of why system prompts are important, you can check out this article by Pete Kuman, who's a general partner at Y Combinator. Basically, he made this interactive post where he is critiquing the AI assistant of Gmail in how redefining the system prompt of this AI assistant delivers much better outputs for the user every time. So I'll link that below if you're keen to read and play around with it. But anyway, we'll be diving into an example system prompt in just a bit. But the key thing to note is that it is one of the most important aspects of your AI agent, which is why it is good to have a framework built around it. Because frameworks are important due to, number one, it allows you to make sure that you don't miss any elements that you need to define in order to get a functioning agent that adheres to whatever your demand is. And number two, frameworks like this also elevate your professionalism, especially if you're in a client-facing role. It's just the reality that if you have frameworks to communicate the ideas that you want your client to understand, it just becomes more professional and polished. So what is this agent framework that we are using? Well, it's basically an acronym for the essential elements that your AI agent system prompt should have in order to make sure that the output it provides is consistently delivering to whatever it is that you expect it to. And of course, we're calling the framework as A.G.E.N.T just to make it much easier to remember. So I'll just quickly go through these elements one by one, and then we'll dive into an example real quick. And the very first one is also the most important. So starting with A, which is ask. What is your number one ask from the agent? So it's good to put this at the top so that your agent directly already knows what you're asking from it. And usually this is like a one-sentence ask, which is further enriched by the succeeding elements after it. So for example, in our use case, we'll basically be building an agent where we would require it to send us daily news about AI tools and updates. And then you have the guidelines. So what guidelines should it adhere to? So each and every agent is different, but some of the common ones that are being defined here is what is its role? For example, being an expert researcher. What is its tone of voice? How many articles do you want it to output? What is the word limit per item? And things like that. And obviously, this is very open-ended depending on the AI agent that you'll be creating. But the good thing is in the GPT, which we'll show earlier, that assistant is actually smart enough to suggest guidelines based on the ask that you have, which makes it much easier to define these instead of you writing them down one by one. And then next we have examples. So if you have the guidelines and you have the ask, you also would want to provide some good and bad examples for the agent so that it understands what you don't want as much as what it is that you do want. So for instance, what we want here for this newsletter agent is we want it to provide us breaking news about updates like GPT-5 being released and things like that. We don't really want it to provide us some news articles about, let's say, Forbes' AI trends predictions and forecasts. So it's more about the tools. And for these last two, this is becoming more and more of a best practice when it comes to building AI agents, but you want to define the notation or the structure or the format by which your output should be in when your AI agent spits it out. Usually, the best practice I see is to provide the output in a JSON format or a JavaScript object notation, which, if you haven't seen that before yet, whenever you see these brackets and braces cleanly laid out, that's essentially JSON. And later we'll see that as well. The reason why this is so effective is because for years since the internet has functioned, a lot of the computers that are under the hood talking to each other to send your information, they usually transmit that information in formats like JSON. It's not the only format, but it is one of the most effective, especially with no-code automation tools like n8n or make.com. And then finally, and also the newest out of these elements, would be the tools that your AI agent has access to and can use. Because if you think of your AI agent as sort of like your intern, for example, the tools that you provided would essentially be the software that would come pre installed in the MacBook, for example, that you would provide that intern. So later you'll see this in action. You can give the agent access to a Google Sheet, access to Perplexity, which is a way by which agents can connect to the internet and things like that. And overall, this is just a neat way for you to recall what it is that you need to define for an AI agent, especially if you're building it for production. And I think there's multiple other frameworks out there, but this is the one that we are using currently. And of course, it's one thing for me to tell you what this framework is, but it's probably better to show what it looks like in practice. And so the example that we'll be providing is newsRobo, which is basically an AI agent that would send you daily quality updates on the topic of your choice. So if we hop over to n8n, which, if you still don't know what n8n is basically a no-code automation tool similar to Zapier or make.com, but has gotten very popular recently because of how easy it is to set up AI agents. And you can see here, it's not that complex, and you can also import this template directly into n8n. But what this agent does is, if we just execute it once, what it's doing now is it is accessing the internet for news about AI tools that we want. It uses OpenAI's GPT model, which is functioning as its brain, basically. And then it sends me an email, which looks like this. So you can see this was sent just now because we executed that workflow. But this is just a daily email that I send to myself to make sure that I am updated across any AI developments that I may be interested in. So I haven't seen these before, actually. So for me, who produces a lot of content, especially on TikTok and Instagram, for news like this is pretty good inspiration for me. And also make sure that not only does the agent provide a summary of the news article, but I also ask it to provide a source and a blurb on why it matters. So the reason why this is formatted so cleanly is because of the agent framework that we just established earlier. Because if we go back to our AI agent's nervous system, which is our n8n workflow, if we open the AI agent configuration, you'll see a lot of information here. But the way n8n works is it's very simple. And just to quickly step back and show it, you just have three windows you need to remember. You have your input window here at the left, which are all the data information coming from previous nodes that are being passed along to the node that you are configuring. This green section is where we're going to focus because for AI agents, this is where the system prompt is configured. And then according to that configuration and absorbing the input, it now transforms that information into output that are then passed along to succeeding nodes. So that's just a common design of working for n8n, which if we go back to our newsRobo AI agent, it's basically the same design of working. And for the agent itself, there's essentially just two fields here, right? You have the user prompt, which just says research for me. And that's very simple. That's sort of like the prompt that you would message to ChatGPT. But obviously, if you just type research for me to ChatGPT, it won't provide you with this level of quality of output, where it's cleanly organized with the news items properly grouped together, which is the secret why that email looked really professional in the first place. So what's driving the consistency in this output is this system message or system prompt, which if we expand that so that you can see it in full. Here you can see that we are using that agent framework where we are defining what our number one ask is. Basically, I just need this agent to summarize 3 impactful AI launches. And then we have a few guidelines here, which you can read in your own time. But the important ones are the max of 100 words per news item, because I don't want it to be too long. And what I wanted to exclude, which is also important. So you can see we are excluding economic news, funding, or stories that we have already covered. Where it says here to check on Google Sheets, where we are logging those stories that it has already provided to us. And if you're curious what that Google Sheet looks like, it's very simple. It just has these topics and descriptions that we are logging at the end of this workflow. So for example, those news articles that we just viewed earlier, the agent already updated it in this Google Sheet so that next time it will cross-reference this sheet to make sure that it doesn't repeat any of these stories when sending updates for the next day. So that's what the Google Sheet is. But essentially, you just have a few more notes here on the examples. What are some good ones? What are some bad ones to guide it further? And then we also have the notation, which is important. And you can see we are defining it as JSON. And we have an example here of the notation that we want this agent to output every time, which allows us to get these neatly organized output elements, which we pass along to succeeding nodes. And again, this looks complex to write, but remember, I did not write this myself. I had the GPT write this for me, which is why it looks very detailed because I just talked to the GPT and had it detail this out, which I will also be demoing in just a bit. And the other note about this notation, at least for n8n, is I actually copied this whole JSON example. If we just go back into this structured output parser, because for every AI agent, you can add this output parser as an option, where if I open that, it just provides that same JSON format that basically lets your AI agent double check that notation has been followed. So you see, I just pasted that whole thing here. But anyway, going back to the system prompt, the final element of the agent framework is the tools. And you can see we defined here 3 specific tools, but instead of reading those out, I can actually just show them as well. Because in n8n, you can also attach tools to your AI agent, where this think tool is just something I have by default because it allows your AI agent to double check its output before providing it to you to make sure that it adheres to the system prompt that you provided it. And then here is where you can see the Google Sheets, where if we open that, you'll see that its response is to just return all the topics that it has covered before so far to make sure that it did not provide us with any duplicates that we have already seen in a previous email. And then finally, you have here the perplexity tool, which is one of the easiest ways by which you can let your AI agent connect and browse the internet. And so since we're looking for breaking news, this is just one way for it to look for news articles and read them in its own time. So if you want a walkthrough of how I set this up step by step, I can publish that as a separate video. But at least for this tutorial, I just wanted to illustrate that agent framework that we had in the system prompt is how we got these neatly organized outputs in the very first place. And because we have these cleanly organized, when we pass it along to Gmail, you can see that I have the subject line just referenced here by dragging there and dropping it there. And then for the message itself, I didn't write this myself once again, but if you open that, I just asked ChatGPT to provide me with an expression that would roughly look like that email that I showed earlier. And so you can see there's a lot of complexity here around HTML coding, which I won't even go through myself. I didn't double check it, but when I ran it, it did provide me with this workable looking email that is very easy on the eyes. So it even has the emojis plus the headings and bolded text and all that, which is important for me so that the readability is much easier. So this is good if you want to set this up yourself. That's something that I highly encourage. If you're interested in another topic, what you can do is just copy this system prompt and then paste it to ChatGPT and just ask it to refine it to whatever topic that you want. But like I said earlier, that system prompt I actually didn't write myself. We just created this GPT that writes that system prompt for us, which you can use as well. And just to illustrate how easy it is to use that GPT, I'm going to show you 2 more examples of these AI agents that are quite simple but very effective and something that you can set up yourself. So we already went through the first one, which is the newsletter Robo. And the next example we'll go through is this meeting AI agent, which basically gives you a background of the person you're about to meet. So let's say you have a discovery call with a client or a peer that you want to be acquainted with. What this very simple agent does really well is that if you talk to it and provide the name of the person that you wanted to research. So here I use Nick, who is big in the AI automation space. And basically this agent just gave me a rundown of his bio, what his current role is, recent activity, as well as several talking points and conversation starters, which is very useful because Slack, you can access it on mobile. So if you're on the go and you need a quick reference, you can just talk to this agent and it will give you those talking points very quickly. And the key to making this agent effective, despite its simplicity, is its system prompt. So just to illustrate, if we open this up, right now we just have the system message as "you are a helpful AI assistant," which is very broad. And so if we run this workflow and we try to send a request over at Slack, it can still pull on the tools and use OpenAI's chat model here. But you can see it didn't work effectively. In fact, it didn't really return anything because we did not give it clear instructions on what to do and what to research for. So to make a better system prompt using the agent framework, what we can do is just talk to this GPT and it will guide us in creating that more detailed system prompt. So for example, I can just dictate, "Okay, GPT, I want to create an agent that will summarize information around a person that I'm about to meet. You will be using a research tool called Perplexity in order to do this. So can you guide me in creating a system prompt for this agent?" And if we send that, it will basically guide you through some questions around the different elements of the system prompt that you want. So since this is a lot of questions, what I usually do is I just talk to this agent again, just to answer each and every one. So for example, okay, so I'll be going through each of these questions in turn and just provide you more information so that you can create the system prompt for me. Basically, yes, the ask is correct. I want you to summarize the key facts. Output should it generate? Please be guided on the notation. For the guidance, yes, let's do it as a professional research assistant. And on the character count limit, let's make it a max of 100 characters per item. And for examples, please suggest for the notation. I want you to include the source. I want you to include some topics of conversation, as well as some questions that I can ask this person. And then for the tools itself, the think tool is correct. Perplexity, I mentioned that already, so include that as well. And I think that should be it. So please provide me a summary of the system prompts before generating it. And once we do that, basically it will double check with us if the intended ask guidelines, examples, notation, and tools are correct. And once we're satisfied with that, it will generate the full system prompt, which you can just copy. And if you open this agent, you can just paste it under the system message or prompt here. And what this GPT will also do is provide you a copy of the final JSON output format, which you can just copy once again. And if we go back and open our structured output parser and paste it here, that will just let you ensure that your agent's output would adhere to this JSON format, which is best practice when it comes to n8n automations like this. And obviously, you can continue talking to this GPT in the same thread to further refine the system prompt as well as the JSON output that you want, but it's just a much easier way versus typing it yourself, basically. So now if you save this and execute this workflow once again, if you go back to Slack and provide a prompt such as, let's say, I want to research about RoboNuggets, it will trigger that workflow, research perplexity. But now, since it is guided by our system prompt as well as the proper JSON output that we want it to provide, it now gives us a more detailed bio around what RoboNuggets is and some talking points you can use, which is very useful whenever you meet with someone. So that is example number 2. Now, I also wanted to illustrate this third example because this framework is not only useful when it comes to productivity workflows like the ones that I mentioned, but it's also good for creative workflows, especially if you're crafting prompts for things like VO3 or GPT Image 1, which I featured heavily in this channel already before. For this one in particular, we're going to develop a quick AI agent that will create shirt designs for us with a transparent background, which is very useful when you're into things like Printify or merch on demand as a source of income for yourself, or if you're interested in exploring those. So this is the agent's backbone in question. And this one looks a bit more complex, but honestly, it's very simple because what it really does is this agent just crafts a prompt for a shirt design. And then we pass that along to ChatGPT using these nodes and then upload them to Dropbox and log them in Google Sheets for proper tracking. And just to provide an example of its output using the agent framework, you can see that it gave us a very structured idea around Labor Day, which is coming up in the US, for a shirt design that has this text called Labor Day Slay, as well as some guidance on the visuals and stuff. So if you go back, you can see we passed that along to ChatGPT and we uploaded it to Dropbox, which we have here as well. So if you open that, that has really good text adherence. It aligned to the visual style what we wanted or what the AI agent described for us. And more importantly, it has a transparent background, so you can upload it instantly to things like Printify or Merch on Demand. So you can see here, if we open it up, that we're basically asking this agent to create a shirt design every time it runs. And again, the reason why this agent can work effectively is because we gave it a clear enough system prompt using the agent framework. So we provided it with a good ask, a lot of guidance around what we want, some good examples, some bad examples, and very importantly, the notation by which we want the output to be in, as well as the tools that it has access to. So in the same way, you can use this GPT to craft that system prompt. But what's important to showcase here is the fact that with ChatGPT, you can actually provide it visual inputs in order to craft your system prompt. So this will vary depending on the image or video that you want to create. But what you can do is just provide a screenshot of what you're trying to create and provide it to ChatGPT here, and then ask it to create a system prompt with you using this as reference. So for example, okay, GPT, now we're going to create a system prompt for an agent that will create high quality shirt designs for us on any niche. This will be used for things like merch on demand. So make sure that there is text. And I also want to create shirt designs for events that are upcoming in the USA. Now, if we send that, it once again guides us through the questions, which again, we can just answer not by typing, but by talking to GPT, which is much more efficient. And once you are satisfied with the direction it's taking, you can see that it will generate the system prompt for you as well as the JSON output format, which you can just copy into your AI agent and your JSON output parser, similar to what we did previously. So now if we execute this workflow with that system prompt guiding the AI agent now, what it's going to do is craft a prompt for us and again, send that to ChatGPT's image model, which can produce really good text. And you can see once it has finished processing, it just uploaded that to Dropbox, which if we head to our same folder, you can see that it just created this grill and chill shirt design for us, again, against a transparent background. So you could just slap this on a white t-shirt and basically produce shirt designs using AI recursively. And we created this AI agent and gave it its purpose using the agent framework, which is why the structure of the output that we were able to get is really good. And that's it. 3 very quick examples of how you can use this new agent framework in order to really improve the performance of the agents that you're making. I can also create individual videos of setting up each of these agents if you think they are useful, so let me know below. And of course, I'll be providing the link to this GPT so that you can try it out yourself. And also, I'll be uploading all the resources as well as the templates for those agents in our community, so you can check that out if you haven't yet. A lot of members, as well as myself, regularly post paid opportunities and partnership collabs here if you're interested in getting started from earning in the AI space. And we also have tons more content here around AI and automation, which you can browse through in your own time to kickstart your learning around artificial intelligence, and also several events and meetups, which we regularly do in the community if that's something that you are keen on. We also recently launched this RoboNuggets deals site, where you can basically get access to deals and discounts for more than 540 AI and SaaS tools now, which collectively can give you $3 million in potential savings across several tools and platforms that you can get access to if you're an annual member in the RoboNuggets community. So check that out at deals.robonuggets.com if you want to see our several partners in the AI space. But that's it. Thank you for watching. Give a like or subscribe if you like this content so that we can produce more of it for you. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.